Hey guys, welcome back to another weekly Doc's Pickup haul. I managed to mess that all up. Doc's weekly comic pickups. Thanks for joining me again. I've got a smaller list this week than I normally have been picking up, but I've got some really great books. And one that really, this is probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but let's go ahead and get started with that one. So the book of the week, for all the wrong reasons, is Transformers issue number 30. And this is written by Robert Kirkman with art by Dan Mora, who is leaving the title after this issue. But I think I will be leaving the title after this issue as well, because we get to see the headbutting scene and the love-hate relationship between Optimus Prime and Elita 1. Elita 1 feels like Prime has failed in his duty as Prime to look after Cybertron because he's stuck on Earth having this battle with Megatron and the Decepticons there. So she feels like he has let down his fellow Cybertronians by not coming back and trying to protect them. And it hits home really well. But what has happened in the end is that Optimus ain't Optimus anymore. Sorry guys, that's a spoiler, I know, but I'm not telling you how it happened or who has taken the Matrix, but I will tell you that Optimus Prime is now just Optimus, or Orion Pax, however you feel to see it. And to me, maybe it's just me, but Optimus and Megatron are the polar opposites of this book, of this title, of this series, of these characters. Optimus is the good guy, Megatron is the bad guy. And having a new Prime rise, especially the one that they chose, I just can't get behind that. And I heard somebody talking on a forum saying, you know, if Prime's not the leader by the end of this issue, I'm out. And after reading this, I feel the same way. Optimus is the leader. Now, that being said, I don't see this being a permanent change. I see this being Robert Kirkman doing this for shock value. And it's possible that if the title survives this change, that when Optimus becomes Optimus Prime again, then I'll come back and finish reading the title. But I think I'm going to step away, guys. Like I said, it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I didn't like the change in this issue because to me, it's too sweeping and it just feels like people don't know what to do with Optimus. He's too good. He's too moral. He's too, without being preachy, he stands for what he believes in. And it's almost like we as a society, as humanity itself, have moved away from those ideals and those visions, except for the people who love Optimus Prime. And that's why we're here. So I hate to say it, guys, but I'm afraid that Transformers 30 is going to be my last issue of the title for right now, until we get Optimus Prime back as the main Autobot and the leader. Next up, we have The Seasons, issue number 9 by Rick Remender and Paul Azaceta. And here we have summer and spring going up against their sister winter. And it's amazing to see this artwork because it still has that old school Winsor McCay, Little Nemo type of vibe. And I think that goes down to Matthias Lupus, who is the colorist for this book. His color palette really is a throwback and it's great. It's amazing. The artwork just absolutely pops and it will blow you out of the water between the art and the story. So here we get the two Seasons sisters that are still remaining because Winter, Autumn, and Mom and Dad have all been captured. So all of a sudden, Winter decides to turn her mirror onto this plane of existence where the two sisters are living. And so now we have endless winter. And winter is the driving force behind what's going on in this world. So they have to find out how to get to Winter. And that involves them going and talking to some high up people that are trying to be fancy and live high on the hog, and they want to attend this gala that Winter is going to be showing off in preparation of showing off a new dress that she has designed. So it's a mystery about how has the ringleader of the circus wrought this, that these magic mirrors that have followed people throughout this entire series. How has it been that now we're in a solid state of winter until Winter, either his spell is broken or she sees fit to give everybody, a little bit of a break? So is this the ringmaster's fault, or is this Winter just being Winter and taking control of a situation? Gorgeous book, even stronger storytelling. This book is amazing, guys. If you're not reading this, you need to go out and get that first trade and get caught up, because if you like old school things, if you like old school colors, if you like art and story that jumps out at you and screams to be heard, The Seasons is your book. Okay, next up, I told you I was going to collect the entirety of Death Spiral, so here we have Venom 255. This is probably the first issue of Venom that I have collected since, I don't know, the late 90s, because I did pick up the first issue of Cates and Stegman's series a couple years ago. What is that, 2018? Almost 10 years ago now? 8 years ago? I did pick that up, but I didn't care for it. And so I dropped it after, I think, the second issue. I didn't get into the Knoll story and all that. But anyway, to get back here, now we have Al Ewing doing the writing and Carlos Gomez doing the artwork. And in this episode, Eddie and Carnage are trying to figure out why Torment is killing the people that he's killing. How is he coming up with his quote-unquote list of victims? Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And finally, Eddie realizes, he says, Brock, all of these people have the last name Brock. We've got to go find Dad and make sure he's okay. Meanwhile, you go into the bar with no name, and you've got Venom and Spidey coming off in there, and Boomerang is giving Spider-Man hell, and Spidey's like, hey, look, you still owe my good friend Peter Parker a lot of back rent. You ran out on him. So, in the end, Spider-Man shows his humanity again. And what does he say? Boomerang yells at him and he says, there you go again, cracking wise, we're not friends. None of the folks here grieving need the guy who webs us up for the cops to come in and make jokes. Why don't you and the goo go find a wrestling ring to hijack and leave us in peace? In this panel right here, it says, because I liked Herman. It shows you the humanity of Spider-Man. It shows you Peter's humanity. And you get to see why he does the things that he does. Why he protects those who try to kill him or maim him at any turn. And he says, he wasn't a psycho or a stalker or the devil, just a guy who robbed banks. For a bad guy, he was okay. I kind of hoped he'd turn it around. But I don't think I ever told him that. I just cracked wise. And then somebody killed him. So now all I can do is web up his killer up for the cops. Can you help me? So this little mini-series that is going through all of the Spidey books, that's a lot of empathy. That's a lot of heart that you see from Al Ewing talking about the death of one of his oldest villains. Shocker came out, I believe, in issue 46 of the original run of Amazing Spider-Man. So you've got a character that goes back into the 4th year of ASM, and he's gone. Now, we all know he'll be back, and death is not permanent in the Marvel Universe, but that's not the point. The point is you have a Spider-Man story for the first time in a long time that has heart. It shows why Peter is a superhero. It shows why he sticks his neck out time and time and time again, even for those that try to hurt him or maim him. And that shows why Peter Parker is one of the best of us all. So, bravo to Al Ewing. I haven't read a whole lot of his stuff, but he gets Peter Parker in this issue, and that makes it all worth the while, in my opinion. The art by Carlos Gomez is amazing. It's more cartoony than it is realistic, but at the same time, you get to see the majesty of Carnage. You get to see realistic figures and people that really just pop off the page. And you get to see Torment at the end of the issue. So what is going to happen in part 4? I got to keep reading to find out. Okay, this book here is actually Comics, the magazine, issue number 1. Wizard it is not, but I haven't read the whole thing yet. There's a funny little introduction with a letter from Chip Zdarsky and another letter from Chip Zdarsky and then a third one. And so I've got to go and reread this whole thing and soak it in, and then I will come back and do an initial assessment on this magazine-sized book and let you know whether it is a wizard in the making or whether it's just floating around in the breeze, because it could do either. It really could. But look for that video coming up very, very soon. Okay, 2 more books to go, guys. We've got Circus Maximus issue number 5. This is the finale, and you get this still amazing artwork from Giorgio Pontrelli, and it really just brings that time to life. You get to see the senator that sold out Sergius and his friends. You get to see that the Vestal Virgin is not necessarily a virgin anymore, perhaps, or maybe she's just sick. Maybe she caught the flu. Who knows? Seems to be going around this time of year. You get to see the charioteer who's trying to save the senator in the end, and something terrible happens to the charioteer. Like I said from the beginning of this series, it's almost like Ocean's 11, but set in Rome. Rome's burning, and Nero is busy with that. Meanwhile, we have people pick a plot to steal the plans for Nero's new massive Colosseum. And so it's historically accurate as far as those kind of stories go. I mean, it's not like reading a history book on the Greco-Roman era and things of that nature, but it is definitely intriguing. You get a finale, although not all the characters do survive. I do have to say that. But in the end, this is something that I would love to see a volume 2 to see where it continues, because it is an interesting enough story with enough plot and characters that you do come to care about, that the next thing you know, the book is over and you're like, why did it have to stop? Why did it have to stop? So Mark Sable, Giorgio Pontrelli, Emilio Lecce, and David Sharp, thank you so much. This has been a great miniseries, and I mourn that it has stopped, but hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed for a volume 2. Okay, and the last issue we're going to talk about is Dork, issue number 2. And this book here, most definitely by Brett Bean, Jean-Francois Belot, and you have Dork trying to escape from people that are trying to kill him. He gets to the top of this mountain right here, this sheer cliff he was climbing, and comes to find out that all of the people that he that were waiting for him to kill him are all dead. And all of a sudden, he sees these kids who have these VR headsets on. Not really. But they are trying to stab him. And their knives, as they stab you, take away a little bit of your life. You get older. You age as they are stabbing you. And so they're called the Time Thieves. And so that's what the shield tells him. And Dork says, and that means each wound steals your time away. Quit getting cut or you'll wither away and die. And he tells him, it's time to go berserk on these kids. And he's like, I lost control last time. Look what happened to the chicken. So here goes the chicken with his floating head, trying to find his body. And eventually one of the kids cuts him, and he does go berserk for just a second, hits that kid in the face so hard that he knocks him into next Wednesday. And, but in the end, here's a Time Lord. It looks kind of like a character off of, not Billy and Mandy. That's not, there is a character that looks kind of like that off Billy and Mandy. But the cartoon I'm thinking about is more of like a Gennady Tarkov character off of Dexter's Laboratory or something along those lines. And he does a bunch of damage to Dork. But in the end, Dork cuts loose on him, and eventually the kids start slicing and dicing him again, and Dork falls in battle. But is that going to be the end of him? No, because they've solicited Dork number 3. This book is still solid. I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as White Sky. I still think White Sky has longer legs than Dork, and I don't think Dork is an ongoing. I think it's more of a 5 or 6 issue mini, whereas I think White Sky is an ongoing. So I'm really intrigued to see if my thought process that White Sky is the new Walking Dead actually comes to fruition. That would be great if it did. But either way, Dork is a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I can't wait to see what comes next from this team, because you have a chicken who's a spirit head and his body, but then his body got sliced up by the Time Thieves. So is his body still alive? Can the headless chicken ever get back to his body, or is it doomed to roam the worlds of Dork for the rest of his days? All right, guys, that was a little bit shorter video this week, but I hope you enjoyed the books that I brought to you. What did you pick up at the comic shop? What are you enjoying reading? Did you pick up Dork, White Sky? Did you read Circus Maximus? I thought that was one of the better books of 2026 so far. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought. And in the meantime, have a wonderful Wednesday. I hope you get all the books that you wanted at the shop. And let me know down in the comments if you read Comics the Magazine issue number 1. And if you were old enough, what did you think about Wizard Magazine? I've done a few episodes of a Wizard Magazine retrospective, because I've got a lot of issues of Wizard, and another one, seems almost timely. So maybe not this week, but maybe this weekend I can dig out an issue or two, and we can go back in time on Wizard Magazine. Anyway, guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next video.